Hello everyone, welcome back to the cottage and welcome to my kitchen where we will be spending a lot of time together today as I share a full day of food. This has been a highly requested video, and honestly, I've been dragging my feet on it because I haven't felt very qualified. The kitchen isn't where I feel most comfortable. I've mentioned that before. I'm someone who doesn't really experiment with recipes much. I find what I like and I stick with it. At least that is how I have been. I'm feeling a change happening in the last few months though. As you know, I've been working on the goal of reducing my intake of added sugars and doing a better job of looking at labels on packaging. That, coupled with the fact that food prices seem to go up every time we buy groceries, and 5 growing kids, 3 of them teenage boys, I've just taken a step back and realized that now more than ever, it has to be a priority of mine to focus on making cost-effective, healthier food from scratch at home for my family. So here we are today. I know this is slightly off-brand from my typical simple living and minimalist content, but I'm hoping this video will show how living a simple life allows for changes like this one, improvements in other aspects that you deem to be important. In full transparency, as you can see, I'm starting out my time in the kitchen with a sink full of dirty dishes. Generally, I do a kitchen reset every evening, probably 9 times out of 10. But just keeping it real, that sometimes it doesn't happen. I had a really busy day yesterday, most of it spent outside the home, and the energy I had left at the end of the day was spent elsewhere. This is a Saturday morning, so I do have a bit more leeway to get this task accomplished. Let this just be a reminder to me and anyone else out there who needs to hear it. Ultimately, no matter how organized or efficient you are, your home isn't a business or a factory. The flow of life should always determine the pace. The first food thing that I'm going to talk about today is actually a snack that I started yesterday, homemade yogurt. This is only my second time making it. It is so cheap and ridiculously easy. By the way, I will add links to any recipes I used in this video down in the description box, so be sure to check them out there. Essentially for the yogurt, I just pour a gallon of milk into my large crock pot and heat on low for multiple hours, then cool a bit, add a cup of yogurt, and allow to thicken. The first time I made it, I did use store-bought plain yogurt, and this time around I'm going to reserve a cup of the homemade kind. Essentially, this process will always produce a yogurt starter of sorts, and in theory, I shouldn't have to buy yogurt again as long as I keep up making it at home. This yogurt has cooled and cultured all night long, and it can be eaten as is right now. But an added step for a thicker, more Greek-style yogurt is to strain off the whey. This will leave a higher concentration of proteins and fat. I'm using coffee filters, but a towel or cheesecloth can work well too. I'll be checking on this throughout the day. It's a couple hours later now, just about 12:30, and I need to prepare a lunch for my 2 daughters and myself. Craig and our 3 boys are at an event this afternoon, so I'm going to keep this lunch ultra simple. I've been working really hard at adding more veggies into our family's diet, and thankfully we are all veggie lovers. Today I'm chopping up some zucchini, bell pepper, and red onion to saute, and we'll serve them alongside chicken fritters. And surprise! Take a look at this cast iron pan. Can you even believe it's the same one I showed a few videos back? It was rusted and flaking, and I thought for sure it was destined for the trash, but you all commented that it could be saved. So my husband did a little research and helped me to get it back in working order once again. I also learned from you guys that I was using the cast iron skillet all wrong. I used to put the oil in right away and then turn the burner on, and my food would constantly stick to it. But apparently it's best to heat up the skillet first and then add the oil. Since changing that little thing, I've had no problems at all with sticking. And this makes me really excited going forward as I have been looking for more non-toxic cooking tools, and I think cast iron might be the path that I'm going to take. The chicken fritter recipe will be linked, but essentially all you need to do is add a bunch of ingredients to a bowl and mix it all together. Cheeses, spices, egg, a bit of almond flour, and rotisserie chicken. Yes, I did buy pre-shredded chicken for easy meals like this. Eventually, I want to get into cooking and preparing whole chickens on my own, but I'm not quite there yet. Since I was only feeding 3 of us, I cut all the ingredient portions in half. I also didn't let the mixture sit in the bowl for an hour like the recipe says. It doesn't seem to make a difference to me either way. Once the veggies were finished sautéing and plated, the chicken mixture is pressed into patties and then fried up in oil. Just 2 to 3 minutes per side until they are golden brown. I would say that these taste sort of like a grown-up chicken nugget. We like them especially with avocado on top. And today they were served with a side of blueberries. The yogurt is straining off nicely, and you can see all the extra whey here. I find that the yogurt isn't as sour tasting when I do this step. Now, before I start after lunch work in the kitchen, I'm going to get this first round of dishes cleaned up. My mom used to always say that a clean kitchen is a happy kitchen, and I totally agree with that sentiment. I also have learned how to properly clean and oil the cast iron after each use. Honestly, that step is going to take a little getting used to, but I think in time it will just become part of the rhythm. Okay, moving on to a homemade berry sauce now. I wanted something that we could flavor the yogurt with if we wanted to, without all of the added sugars. I found a few recipes online that I liked, but I didn't have all the ingredients on hand, so I did make a few adjustments. Essentially, all you need are frozen berries, water, applesauce, lemon juice, and cornstarch. I scooped 6 cups of berries, a cup of water, and 2 small strawberry applesauce packets into a large pot. I think you could use plain applesauce too. This is just what I had on hand. Turn heat on and simmer on low for a half an hour or so. I let this simmer away as I was working on some other things in the kitchen and just stirred the mixture occasionally. The weekends are when I prep the hard-boiled eggs for the following week also. If there is one grocery item that everyone seems to be talking about, it's eggs. How much are they where you live? Here in Minnesota, in my town, they are right around $5 per dozen. I was semi-complaining about this fact to my mom the other day, and she pointed out that a bag of chips were around the same price. It's clear which one of those 2 options hold more nutritional value, so I guess I can't be too mad about it. Eating an egg will keep you feeling full and satisfied much longer than a handful of chips will. While the berry sauce and the eggs are doing their thing on the stove, I'm going to prep some granola. Again, this is used as a yogurt topping, but it also tastes so good over sliced bananas or just eaten plain. This recipe I follow exactly, and it has turned out perfectly every single time. I have experimented with the different types of nuts that we prefer and found that pecans and slivered almonds are a hit with everyone in my family. Really, it couldn't be any more simple. Just toss ingredients into a bowl, mix everything up well, spread out onto a parchment-lined baking sheet, and bake for 10 minutes. Stir, then back in the oven for 10 more minutes. After the granola has cooled completely for about 45 minutes to an hour, I add in chopped dates and unsweetened coconut flakes, but you could add in chocolate chips or any variety of dried fruit. Since my oven is already hot, I'm going to keep using it. Next in will be homemade sourdough chocolate chip scones. My husband will be bringing them to a meeting later tonight. I created the dough yesterday and they have been fermenting in the fridge. The final step is to brush on whipping cream, sprinkle with a bit of sugar, and bake for about 20 minutes. These rose really beautifully, and I'm happy to report that they were a hit amongst everyone who tried them. The recipe is from Lisa at Farmhouse on Boone, and she's really my go-to source for all things sourdough. At this point, the berry sauce is ready to be blended. You could mash the mixture by hand for a thicker consistency if you don't mind those bigger fruit chunks. Then add a mixture of 2 tablespoons cool water and 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. So mix those together first, pour it in, plus add the juice of half a lemon and blend again. The finished product is a tart berry flavor. I'm sure you could play around with different natural sweeteners, but the tartness of this pairs very nicely with the yogurt we eat it with. I also want to try this sauce on homemade sourdough waffles. I think that would be another really delicious combination. Speaking of yogurt, this batch is fully drained and ready to be portioned into mini mason jars. From 1 gallon of milk, less than $3, I can make approximately 24-ounce servings. If you buy the small Greek yogurt packs at the store, they are around $1 per 5-ounce serving. So I'd say this is a pretty wonderful return on investment. This batch of yogurt and also the granola should last us for about 2 weeks before I will need to make up some more. It's an easy, healthy snack or side dish. At this point, my Dutch oven has been preheating for about an hour and I'm ready to put in my prepared sourdough loaf. I think technically they're called boules when they are made in this rounded form, but bread is bread to me. I've discovered some easy ways to fast track the dough prep that I will maybe talk about in a future video. Every single time that I make something from sourdough, I feel more and more confident with the process. Eventually, I would love to make all of our bread products from scratch: tortillas, bagels, English muffins. I did make some sourdough pizza dough the other night that was also fantastic. The boiled eggs are ready to be peeled and stashed away in the fridge for the week ahead. I know for sure that my teenage sons really appreciate the extra bit of effort I put into getting them ready as a grab-and-go snack or breakfast food. It makes it ultra easy for them to make a healthy choice instead of pouring a bowl of sugary cereal or grabbing a highly processed breakfast bar. A few hours later now, and it's time for me to prep the final meal of the day. Tonight we are having meatballs, potatoes, sourdough bread, and cottage cheese. The meatballs will be my first order of business since they take the longest to prep and cook. This is a recipe that I have been using for years and years and is actually part of the meal rotation that I have previously shared. I will type out the recipe in the description box if you're interested. I appreciate the amount of veggies that the meatballs have in them. If you have a picky eater, they might not even notice the mushrooms or onions. The carrots do stand out a little bit more. But just veggies, hamburger, pork sausage, and a few spices. You can also add some Parmesan cheese or choose not to. I am adding a bit today. There are no grains in this recipe, so it is perfect for people who need to avoid carbs. Mix it all together. I like to wear gloves and then roll into balls. Bake for approximately 25 to 30 minutes. And while they're starting to bake, I'm going to prep the seasoned potatoes, which can go into the oven at the same temperature. Simply wash 4 potatoes, cube them, and place in a baking dish. Toss with a couple of tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, which I forgot to show in the ingredient shot, a little salt and pepper, and about a 1/4 cup of parsley flakes. These also will bake for about 20 minutes or until fork tender. Well, that was a full day in the kitchen, but I do feel like I accomplished a lot. I'm really proud of the confidence that I'm starting to have with cooking and baking. Of course, I still have a lot to learn for sure, but it feels really good to be exploring and actually enjoying this side of homemaking. If you have any simple, healthy recipes that you think I should know about, I'd love to hear your suggestions down in the comments section. And as always, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope that you'll stop back again really soon.